what's up? This is JM, host of the Celebrity Grill podcast on iTunes, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Network. All barbecue and grilling, all the time.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling, originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio. It is the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday. If you want to jump in this evening, it's a phone call, 216-777-2120. Again, that's 216-777-2120. We are down a phone screener tonight, that being Michigan John. He's on business. However, I do have the call-in program set up to automatically accept your call, so you don't have to play through a screener like you have had to do in weeks past. Basically, you just dial the number. It will get added into the show. You will know you're connected because you will hear the show happening live. You'll be hearing the show feed. Now, it might take 2 minutes. It might take 35 minutes. I might never get to your call depending on how the show is going. But please don't let that discourage you from calling in, 216-777-2120. Maybe I can get you up when we have a guest. Maybe not, depending on what kind of technology we're using with that particular guest. But give it a shot. Now, if you'd like to forego the phone call, I certainly understand. If you'd rather shoot me an email, this is how you do that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at bbqcentralshow.com or on the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening on the show tonight, and boy, is it a big one. Coming up in about 12 minutes from now, somebody that I have just been around the industry for as long as I've been doing the original podcast, right around that 2005, 2006 area. So as long as I have been in this space, he has also been in this space. I don't know how I didn't know about him until I'm trying to figure out how I even found the video that he was in. Maybe I was searching dry-aged steak. I think actually it was me searching videos on Pat LaFrida because I'm still working on getting him on the show amongst some other things. And then after a YouTube video, it comes, hey, recommended for you are these 57 different videos that may or may not hold any interest to me. But I saw my next guest on a video, and it was called, like, the dry-aged steak test. And one was 30 days, and one was 60 days. And then it got outraged, 180 days. I think he actually ate a 475-day dry-aged piece of beef. And I was immediately enamored with him, started watching all the videos, doing all the research on his background, visiting his website, doing Google name search, all that stuff. And I said, man, got to get this guy on the show, ASAFP, so we can talk about steak. We can talk about his background in case you don't know who he is. And he also seems like a guy that's ready to go off the cuff. Ask him a question, he'll answer it. He'll give you his absolute definitive opinion. Now, whether you agree with it or not, that's for you to agree or disagree with. But from a host perspective, I anticipate we're going to have a pretty healthy conversation going back and forth. And, of course, you know me. If I don't agree, I'll be more than happy to point that out, and we can go back and forth, kind of like I do with Meathead. And some of the other guests from time to time. So joining me for the very first time is professional carnivore Nick Solaris. NickSolaris.com if you don't know who he is. Check him out. So very much looking forward to hooking up with Nick here for the first time and potentially starting an engaging and recurring relationship. At 9:35, a guest who has been on this show for any number of years. First, you saw him appear on this show when he secured the contract with Kansas City's Barbecue Society, being their marketing partner, the CEO and president of MMA Creative. But within the last 6 years, and certainly he's still doing that and being very successful at that, he's also happened to create, I guess, what would arguably be the largest competitive food sport event that happens during the course of a calendar year, with that major event in November, but then sprinkled all the way through the different weeks and months of the year. And as we know, 2018 rapidly coming to a close. The creator of the World Food Championships, with some big news breaking tonight at 9:35, Mike McCloud will be on the show. And then we'll kick it over to the second hour, and the fourth Tuesday of every month in the second hour is none other than a refiring of the embedded correspondence segment. Texas, Doug Scheiding, Oklahoma, David Huff, and Tennessee, Steve Ray, are all ready to go and give us their findings on what I have termed the purposeful undercooking of steaks across this great land of ours. So they hit up steak restaurants. In full disclosure, I did not hold up my end of the bargain. I'm not even going to lie about it. I will take some in the second hour, so if you like me getting some, be sure to tune in, or at least get it in podcast. You can subscribe to the show on podcasts on all platforms. I'll get into that in the second hour as well at the top. So look forward to the Embedded Correspondent segment, as I always do each and every month. Last week, I led the show by telling you that my steak game was struggling a little bit. And I did nothing to help myself out this past week. You know, as we talk to the pitmasters each and every week here, especially when I was a little bit more on the competition side of things, it was always practice. Write down your notes. Replicate. Consistency. That's how you're going to improve your cooks when it comes to live fire, whether it be barbecue or grilling. I did not do any extra cooks. I did not help myself try to get better last week. But I did want to give you that full disclosure that at least over the last couple cooks, and I know why, I mean, just some adjustments on my end, but the steak game faltered just a little bit. But I can tell you with 100% assurity, my rib game is as strong as it has ever been. Strong as it has ever been. Competition quality, doubt it, but I'm not trying to make competition-style ribs at home. Probably just like the majority of you guys and gals that compete, you're not looking to do the same kind of rib that you're turning into competition in your backyard for family and friends. Saturday, I think, honestly, I made the best ribs to date. I used some of the newly gifted Meat Church rubs that Matt Pittman sent me, so shout out to Matt Pittman. I hate saying shout out, but fell into that trap. Also, maybe you saw it in the open, sporting some of the new shirts that Matt sent me as well. I have Barbecue AF. We talked about that. As we call it, Barbecue as Friends. Thank you, Stover Harger, on that one. And I used Matt's Honey Hog Rub only. A brief spray of avocado oil as the adherent. Then a large platform of Honey Hog Rub. Then Traeger Timberline 850, 225, super smoke setting. And these ribs were calling. I had zero plans on cooking ribs Saturday. And I got through the grocery store of all places. And these ribs, St. Louis style, calling my name amongst the 40 or 50 other St. Louis racks that were in there. I picked it up. It was thick all the way through. The bones on the back were incredibly straight. I said, self? I didn't have any plans to cook ribs, but we're going to be doing some ribs tonight. Got home, fired up the Traeger Timberline, again, 225 super smoke setting, put the ribs in, and said, however long this is going to take, that's how long it will take. Went back to 100% simplicity. No cooking timeline. Use the Ben test. Also, no foil. And I'm telling you, simple, delicious. You know, sometimes I think we get so involved in trying to add this or do that, and we get bogged down into barbecue minutia. For these cases alone, simplicity is actually the best. And letting that barbecue telling you when it's done and not the other way around. So here's my advice. If you've been struggling or you used to make really good ribs and something has changed, make a note of what's changed. What did you used to do? I bet it was a lot simpler methods. Go back to the simple ways and see if that doesn't correct your issue. Corrected mine. Wow. They were unbelievable. And that Timberline, rock solid, super smoke ring. Believe it or not, pellet grills get a really bad rap about not giving you that smoke and that smoke ring. Timberline knocks it out. Love that cooker. All right, Nick Solaris coming up out of the break. Let me talk to you quickly about Southside Market and Barbecue. Attention, folks in the business of barbecue. Established in 1882, Southside Market Barbecue, the oldest barbecue joint in Texas. And they've been owned and operated by the same family for 3 generations. They offer premium Central Texas barbecue products, slow smoked over real post oak wood. Shipping, distributing, and manufacturing sausages for companies across the U.S. From food trucks to multi-chain restaurants, Southside Sausage can be on your menu too. That's right. I'll talk to you about that here in a second. All meats are processed on their on-site USDA-inspected facility. Trusted partner with a focus on quality and, most importantly, authenticity. Wholesale options available, shipping nationwide via the FedEx or food service distribution via Sysco, U.S. Foods, and Martin Foods, some of the biggest players in the distribution food game. Co-packaging available from research and development to package completion. They can follow your recipe or help you develop something brand new. Here's what I'm talking about. Private label options. I talk to you about it each and every week. If you don't want to do the research and development, if you don't want to come up with your own recipe, if you like Southside Market and Barbecue sausages or products, they will let you put your brand name on their already tried and true products. Now you can easily add a product line, bring in a new revenue stream. Southside Market, they are selling their products, so they're happy along to do it. Come on, you kidding me? Get online and check it out right now, southsidemarket.com. That's southsidemarket.com for podcasters only and live listeners. 10% off your online orders when you use code BBQ Central. That's one word, lowercase, BBQ Central, 10% off all online orders when you visit southsidemarket.com. All right, Nick Solaris coming up out of the break. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Remby.
This portion of the show being brought to you by Butcher Barbecue, makers of award-winning injections, marinades, rubs, seasonings, barbecue sauces, grilling oils. All the Butcher Barbecue products have been tested on the competition circuit as well as in the backyard worldwide. Be the pitmaster of your neighborhood. Visit butcherbbq.com to stock up right now. Always trust your butcher. And let me tell you, little secret, while those best ribs I ever made were taking a sweet smoke nap in the Timberline 850, every hour I went out with the honey-flavored Butcher Barbecue grilling oil. Light coat to keep that meat nice and succulent. I'm telling you, it was a winning night. Hey, my first guest getting ready to launch his new meat show on YouTube very shortly in the fall. You might know him for his musings on Eater, guest appearances on the OP podcast, along with his other YouTube videos. Let's head to the Traeger Grills hotline and welcome in first-timer to the show, Nick Solaris. Nick, how are you, buddy?
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing absolutely fabulous. Nick, appreciate you making time for the show this evening. And I guess before we dig into some meat talk and some of your background initially. I know a couple weeks ago, the Windy City smokeout happened, and if my stalking of your social media feeds was correct, you were at least a participant in some form or fashion going into that.
I was a participant in the sense that I was consuming as much barbecue and local Chicago meats and also some Japanese Wagyu. I was there really at the as a guest of RPM Steak, which is, if you've been to Chicago, if you love beef, if you haven't been to Chicago and you love beef, this is a place to go. It's one of the most impressive beef menus I've ever seen. Literally 3 types of Wagyu from Japan. Domestic Wagyu Angus hybrid. I call that a Wangus. USDA Prime from Master Purveyors here in New York City, one of the oldest dry aging rooms in maybe the oldest dry aging room in the Eastern Seaboard. I'm not sure, but a very old room. And then on top of that, some of the really, to my mind, some of the real masters of contemporary barbecue. Pat Martin was there, Sam Jones, Billy Durney, who is a New York City boy, but I think is cooking world-class barbecue. He doesn't like being called the New York City barbecue chef, and I can't say I blame him considering the rather unillustrious history of this place. But last 5 years, New York City barbecue has really come a long way. Getting back to Chicago, though, there was Mike Mills was there. The guys from Home Team in South Carolina were there. It was really a who's who of some of America's top pitmasters. Wayne Miller did a demonstration. Myra Mixon was there. So what I really liked about this festival was that it was a country music, and I'm not a big fan of country music, but I love when you have music in conjunction with food, because it sort of makes it more about what I think barbecue is about. It's not just about the food. It's about the camaraderie. It's about hospitality. It's about celebration. And I think that music and a smoked meat component is just an amazing confluence of things.
What was the best thing that you ate there? Can you put a specific
You mean
pin?
actually at the event?
Well, I guess if you were traveling, I mean, certainly the event is in and of itself probably a big barbecue situation, but as you're traveling around there in Chicago during your time, was there one culinary dish that stood out above the rest?
Well, I did a flight of beef at RPM Steak, but that included, as I was saying before, true Japanese Wagyu, some domestic Wagyu blends. It was a tour de force of beef, but nothing really, that was such a luxury experience that I don't really equate that with Chicago specifically. Like, that's the kind of thing that happens on a restaurant level that is sort of beyond, it's beyond region or geography as much as it is to do with, you know, a great exploration of wealth, because that was an expensive flight of beef. At the same place I had, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Wagyu Mafia. Here is it's a friend of mine, Hisato from Tokyo, and he specializes in a filet cutlet sandwich. Now, this is something that it's become quite big in Japan, and he's sort of taking it around the world, and it's becoming popular in places. Like, you see it popping up on menus here. And what it is a piece of filet mignon, tenderloin, breaded in panko breadcrumbs, deep fried, served on basically what is kind of white bread, but it's Japanese milk toast. So it's a little thicker than like your average white loaf, and that's often toasted. That is served as a sandwich. They trim the crust off, and it's pretty expensive because Wagyu beef is rather expensive.
You're paying by the ounce, I would assume?
Yeah, I think the sandwiches, they go for something like, I think it's over $150.
How big is the sandwich?
It's probably, the sandwich is not big. It's imagine a piece of average white bread and then having the crust cut off.
Yeah.
Not big. But then again, Wagyu, if you guys are familiar with it, it's so rich that really, and it's deep fried too. So you're in the factor of the richness of the dish, not just the expense, but the actual richness of the flavor, means that you really can't eat too many of it. You can't eat too much of it.
Is that a bucket list item, would you say?
I would say it's a once in a lifetime thing. They have them in Japan also. I've had some very good versions in Japan. But I think it's one of those things that's not really the true expression of Wagyu beef. I think if you've never had Wagyu, that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is really to taste the flavor of the actual steak or however you have it prepared. But getting back to Chicago, I love the Italian beef. I went to Al's as my first. Now, look, maybe if I'd went to another place like Bari or Johnny's, maybe that would have been my the most redolent one. But Al's just really blew my mind. I've had, I don't know how many beef sandwiches, from French dips to barbecue style to Philly cheesesteaks. You think that over the course of I'm almost 50 years old now, over the course of eating these things over 5 decades almost, you'd kind of tasted every sort of combination. And this one, it's they dip them so that the outside is completely soggy, soaked in au jus. It's like tissue paper, and then the meat itself is almost as soft and yielding. It's top round, but it's sliced very thin, and then they serve it with a jardiniere, which is a sort of a play on an Italian type fresh, vinegary, spicy salad that has a lot of peppers, maybe some pickled cauliflower and some other spices. And a lot of the times it'll be quite hot, and I think that heat really is a nice offset to the richness of the jus. So that sandwich was really, to me, was probably the highlight in terms of sort of opening my eyes to something new. I've had Wagyu before. I also had Chicago deep dish pizza, which if you get it with sausage in it, it's practically a steak. There's so much meat in that thing. It's ridiculous. I've
heard that's only a tourist thing. Like real Chicagoans don't actually eat deep dish pizza. It's a lot more of a thin crust.
I don't believe that, because there's enough small, really sort of eclectic, off the beaten path places that serve it, that I think that's a tourist myth about tourist myths. But certainly, if you go downtown to where Pizzeria Uno and Duo are, they traffic, and Luminati, they traffic on their fame a lot. There's no doubt. Is it the best pizza I've ever had? No.
It's an experience.
I wouldn't want to eat anything else there, and I wouldn't want to eat that anywhere else.
Nick Solaris joining me here on the show, nicksolaris.com, on the Twitter, Nick_Solaris, on Instagram, @NickSolaris. Are you a hot dog guy, Nick?
I love hot dogs.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I experienced in Chicago was the Chicago hot dog, which, it's hard to corral the whole thing, and there's a lot, it's not a tidy hot dog. But man, I love the Vienna beef hot dog, I have to say. I feel almost, I live in New York now, and I feel that, I'm a little disloyal to the local New York hot dog, which is a garlicky kosher dog.
It's a sabrette, right?
Yeah, sabrette, pretty much. Like if you think about it, sabrette, or if you look at like Nathan's and Katz's and Papaya King, they're all made at Marathon. So Marathon make the hot dogs for a lot of the local places, which it's great. In the same way that Vienna beef supply a lot of the hot dog places in Chicago, I happen to prefer the Vienna beef hot dog. It's got a sweeter disposition. It's a little more fragrant. It doesn't have that dense. I find New York hot dogs I love them. Don't get me wrong. I'd rather eat that than any vegetable or fish or anything. But I find it a bit heavy on the garlic. And the Chicago hot dog is a little lighter. And then they put all that other stuff on it, and it really does become palate engaging.
Would you ever boil a hot dog?
I saw that was a topic of. I mean,
it's a loaded question, Nick, because I had Steven Reichlin on last week, and we were talking about hot dogs on purpose, and then I happened to mention that I, from time to time, enjoy a boiled hot dog, and he said he held up the fingers and said there was sacrilege, and said there was a 10th circle of hell for those people that like boiled hot dogs. And we had this illustrious relationship over these many years. He shows up once a month on my show, and I'm like, geez, that might be the last time he ever shows up on my show. I thought we hit a little bit of a nerve there. So I'm just kind of gauging where boiled hot dogs fall into the people that are in that live fire barbecue grilling industry.
I mean, he's acting as if he put ketchup on the damn thing.
Of course I did. Are you kidding me? That's delicious. Jeez, I'm hitting all the wrong marks. But hey, I always trust my
I
pal.
live in New York City.
Yep.
Most of the hot dogs that you eat on the street here, they're actually, I have to say that the hot dog carts are a dying breed. But those hot dog carts are all boiled. I mean, there is something about boiling a hot dog that it gives the hot dog a certain, especially if it's a natural casing, it gives it a certain plumpness. It doesn't, when you grill or otherwise cook or even griddle cook the hot dogs, especially a natural casing, it can kind of wilt, right? It can kind of prune up a little bit, especially if it gets cooked and then lets rest. A boiled hot dog will always retain. It's like a sous vide for it, right? It's just this warm, nurturing bath that just keeps it in its perfect nubile state. I'm not against boiling hot dogs.
Let's get a quick background on you before we jump into some steak here as time is evaporating quickly. When you were growing up, did you come from a family that was well-versed in culinary skills? Did, mom take you into the kitchen or anything like that? Or did you find a love for food, like in a professional sense, later in life?
I've always enjoyed food. My mother has been, I shouldn't even admit this on a barbecue show, but my mother's been a vegetarian since like 77. So I'm sure that my entire career choice was some form of rebellion.
Right.
But she always cooked. I mean, I grew up in England in the 70s and into the 80s, but she was always kind of health conscious. So I grew up eating a rather bland but yet healthy diet. And I think that what it did is, one, it gave me this yearning to eat real food. But also it kind of just gave me like a blank canvas. So when I got into adulthood and sort of became self-sufficient financially and was able to explore, by this time I had moved to America when I was 16. I really fell in love with American vernacular cooking and also English. I love English working class foods like steak and kidney pies and all those kind of things. But it was, food was always just something that I sort of enjoyed in a non-quantified way. And that kind of held true all the way up until about 2001, when I had developed a terrible addiction to Smith & Wollensky Steakhouse, and I would go there almost every Sunday.
Wow.
and eat what ended up being the same dish and the same meal every Sunday. And that dish is the prime rib with hash browns and cream spinach. And after a few years of eating that, by the way, that is still the best thing I've ever eaten.
Really?
And it's still the best thing. And my entire career my entire career started as a hobby, and that hobby started trying to find something better to eat than the Smith & Wollensky prime rib.
Do you find that the Smith & Wollensky is, do you be honest with yourself and say, hey, there is some percentage of nostalgia that is tied into this whole thing? I was going every Sunday. I love this dish, all that stuff.
There's no doubt about that.
Yep.
But that's true of every piece of food that I love. Like, I don't disassociate the food object, and especially because I'm talking about restaurants, and that's really what I deal with restaurants. As a food writer, I can cook at home, but why would I? I know all these amazing meat chefs. So there of course is the rose tinting of the nostalgia, right? But that to me is not, that's part of it. Your prejudices, your loves, all of those things are part of the filter that defines what defines you. And to me, it's like, I've been to Japan, I've been to Spain and Italy and Scotland and, Ireland, and I've had amazing beef, and all of those beefs are great expressions of the terroir of where they are. But still, that's, that piece of prime rib, it just, to me, first of all, prime rib is my favorite dish. Mm-hmm. I love steak. Steak has its, it has its great benefits. It has its great high points. But to me, prime rib sort of embodies all of the great things about meat cooking. So you do get that upfront beefiness of the steak, but then you get those gentle roasted dark, warming meat notes of like stews and beef bourguignons. You get that sort of that slight smokiness that you get from barbecue. You get that, not a smoke ring as much as you get that sort of, you get that crunchy exterior yielding to that really soft inner flesh. So to me, prime rib is like the sort of near plus ultra of what you can do with beef. It just brings about all of the really great aspects of beef cooking. So that said, I became determined to find a better piece of meat than that. And that at the time, this was really before the internet was a valuable resource of something as niche as beef eating. Mm-hmm. So I got the Zagat guide, which at the time was really what, for the 20 years that I lived in New York prior to that was what Yelp and Google was in the pre-digital age. And Zagat is basically a guide of restaurants for those that don't know it, because it's sort of become a digital brand at this point. And I went through what at the time was about 30 steakhouses and ended up eating at all of them over the course of probably a couple of years, and started taking notes and, discovered I'd been to Peter Luger's and I'd been to Keen's, but there were so many niche places that, that were just off the radar, and discovered some fantastic places like Porterhouse Bar and Grill, Mark Joseph, and that Wolfgang's opened up shortly after I started the project. So I really, I kind of got a real foothold and I had a really good foundation about what steak was traditionally in New York. And I then started writing, keeping a journal. It was a website initially called Beef Aficionado that lasted about a year, but it was, this was in the sort of very early stages of food online. So I had set it up with like a forum and a calendar and all of these sort of these things that defined a website of the era. But what really sort of useful in developing any kind of coherent discourse, they were too locked in. But when Blogger came out by Google, that sort of opened up the publishing, and I started Beef Aficionado anew as a sort of a daily blog. And that became, my hobby that's what it was, my hobby, until I got hired by Serious Eats to review hamburgers. And from the hamburgers reviews, then I got the pizza reviews, and I became the local New York restaurant reviewer. Then I had a column called Steakcraft. And as my career evolved, I specialized in beef, but then I sort of became a more general food writer and sort of rode the wave of what I consider the golden era of food blogging. It was a sort of 2005, 2006 till about 2010. So that sort of 4 or 5 year period is when like Eater, Serious Eats, all of these, there was, the New York Times had a food section, but that was an adjunct to a print mechanism. Serious Eats and Eater to me were and then of course before that, Chow Hounds and the forum type things. Those were the first true purely digital food websites, and they sort of defined what food writing and what food blogging became. So I was very lucky to work for both Serious Eats for 7 years, and then Eater for another 3 after that. And during that time, I also did some local restaurant reviewing for a commuter newspaper called AM New York. I worked with 0.0 to develop Pat LaFrieda's Big App for Meat, which is a iPad app that basically covers every readily available commercial cut of beef, veal, pork, lamb, and then poultry.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I don't think that's been updated for the latest iOS. You know how like you have to update your app every time that Apple. I don't know, because last time I checked, it wasn't available. But hopefully 0.0 is on that.
We're talking with Nick Solaris here on the show. Nick, believe it or not, time has completely evaporated, and I've gotten to about 25% of what I wanted to get to. So,
well, it's like all good things, it's dry aging.
Absolutely. So if you're open to it, I'd love to get with you to come back on probably another 2 or 3 times, so we can actually talk about meat and what people are thinking and what's trending and all this other stuff. But this has been a great opening segment, and I certainly appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And I hope everyone looks out for my new show called Meat Life, which is premiering in the fall.
We'll talk about that, too, next time you're on, I promise.
Thanks very much.
All
Appreciate
right.
your time.
There he is, Nick Solaris. Wow, what happened there? That was awesome. Oh, now, here we go.
All guests appear via the Traeger Grills hotline.
I'm telling you.
Yummy.
It's like, you got a good guest on when I'm watching the clock tick down, and I'm like, uh-oh. I'm not going to get into the major points that I was looking to get into.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Good news. Nick's a great guest. So as long as he's amenable, I'll have him back on. But good backstory to Nick growing up, how he kind of got his chops within the industry. So looking forward to having him back on once again. His website, nicksolaris.com, SOLARES. On the Twitter, Nick_Solaris. On Instagram, @NickSolaris. So check him out. And we'll have him back on sooner than later. I want to really know about that new YouTube show coming up as well. Mike McCloud coming up out of the break. Let me talk to you quickly about Traeger grills. Behind every great meal is a great grill, and not just any grill, a Traeger grill. The Timberline is Traeger's most advanced grill yet. It allows you to grill, smoke, bake, roast, braise, and barbecue like a pro, no matter what your level, thanks to the incredible wood-fired taste. Seriously, you don't know flavor till you're cooking with it. Traeger grills use all-natural hardwood pellets as fuel, so you're literally cooking with flavor, from low and slow smoked ribs, like I did this past weekend, to a seared steak, even a baked apple pie. Traeger's can handle it all, and the Traeger's Timberline makes it even easier thanks to the Wi-Fi capability. You can check on your cooks, kick up the temperature, set custom cook cycles anytime, anywhere, all through your Traeger Grill app. I should check on my brisket if I had one on. I could do it. If I had one on, I could do it right now, right from my phone, no problem. Find one at your local Traeger dealer or check them out online at TraegerGrills.com. Want to beef up your barbecue game? Yeah, you do. Traeger Shop Class going coast to coast, bringing barbecue knowledge and amazing wood-fired food everywhere they go. Taught by professional pit masters, you'll take home all the skills you need to reach barbecue glory. Find a shop class near you and sign up today at TraegerGrills.com/shopclass. That's TraegerGrill.com/shopclass. BBQ is in Wisconsin right now doing shop classes, believe it or not. So give all those pitmasters a follow, see what they're up to, and then if you have a pitmasters class coming by your neck of the woods, you got to sign up for it. Come on. You know you want to. Mike McCloud coming up next. Stick around, be right back.
Ready to get on the air? Call 216-220-0966. Now, let's get back to the LeBron James of barbecue talk. Greg Rempe.
This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit cookinpellets.com. That's COOKIN, cookinpellets.com for more information or purchase. You can also visit Amazon.com and purchase Cookin' Pellets from Amazon right there. Download the Amazon app or download the Cookin' Pellets app. It's free. Get alerted to special deals when they're shipping out. Hey. Thanks again to Nick Solaris joining me last segment. My next guest, the president, CEO of MMA Creative, also the creator of the World Food Championships. And tonight we'll be talking about a big change to this year's final table at WFC, as well as some other portions and ancillaries that are going on this year. So let's head back to the Traeger Grills hotline and welcome friend of the show, Mike McCloud, joining me. Mike, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Mr. Greg, I'm great. How are you doing?
Absolutely fabulous, Mike. Always appreciate you making time for the show here. And I guess if I could be candid for a moment, Mike, I don't know if I
when
thought...
are you not candid?
Well, I don't know. I mean, this is all, wit and words here as we build suspense. But, I don't honestly know if I thought that the World Food Championships would have seen the level of growth year over year when you launched back in 2012. This year, there already seems to be more local events and regional events, special events taking place that I recall seeing in past years. I mean, it has to be a really good and satisfying feeling from your end and the team's end to see the participation, not only from the contestants, but from companies wanting to get on board in some type of a sponsorship deal. You both seem to be moving along very well. And I mean, I got to say, it's congratulations to you. And I'm wondering, and we kind of always ask this every year when we kind of talk to you, but do you continue to exceed expectation? Are you surprised that World Food Championships has become this popular in what really is a short lifespan at this point?
Yeah, I think so. It has been very exciting. It's been moving at a fast pace. It's been humbling and exhilarating and exhausting all at the same time. But I think we were in the right place at the right time 7 years ago when we tapped into this type of food sport cooking, and I think the industry was ready, and we keep feeding it, we keep focusing on it, and sponsors now know that we've stood the test of time. The final table, which I know you want to talk about, doing that in Bentonville with Walmart was another one of the sonic booms. So not too surprised, but pleasantly surprised at certain aspects of it. I'm just delighted that food champions from all walks of life are finding us and deciding to plug in.
Let's talk about that final table or the change that was passed along to me from my Tennessee embedded correspondent, who'll actually be on next hour, Steve Ray, who messaged me and said, "Hey, Mike McCloud just got up in front of 1,500 people at this event we're having down in Tennessee and said that the World Food Championships final table was going to be taking place Thanksgiving night on a major TV network." And I said, "Steve, are you drinking?" And he said, "Nope. I saw him do it." I said, "Well, that seems to go completely contrary to what happened just this past year where we had the World Food Championships in November. And then there was a few months off to get everybody exposed and the publicity and kind of gearing up for that final table, which ended up taking place in April out at, I believe it was Brightwater." So I guess from that aspect, how did it end up for you this year? Did it reach all the benchmarks and goals that you guys were hoping for? And then we'll broach into what potentially is a whole new final table for this year.
Yeah. So first of all, Steve was not drinking. I was. So that was the problem.
Got it.
But and I was absolutely stuffed with wonderful Springer Mountain Chicken Farms dishes from 5 wonderful chefs, 4 chefs down in Chattanooga. But so I'll start with your first question there. The final tables. The strategic decision we made, which was not impacted by TV, it was just by sheer desire and looking at the landscape and trying to yet again push the envelope, which you know that we have done year after year in numerous ways. The final table shift into April of last year, while a lot of people weren't big believers. Or thought that was some kind of just financial miscue or something. I think that we were able to prove that was one of the best moves we've ever made. The final table focus for 5 months from a marketing standpoint and a social media standpoint is one of the things I think that has led to this groundswell, year over year. Every year we measure our social metrics, our media metrics, our competitor growth, sponsor growth. We measure a lot of different things, and across the board, everything's up, and not just up, but like 100 to 300% up in numerous different categories. So it's that move will go down in history for us as one of the smartest things we ever did. And it was wonderful to experience, just to see the 10 champions in a world-class environment. To have Bo Jackson and to have a senior VP from Walmart, Katie Dixon, Mo Kason involved. It was just a magical moment, and they're already referring to themselves as the class of 2017, which is another kind of neat little thing that keeps happening with this event. Is it's kind of community-esque. It's like a homecoming in November. And now maybe the final table is always going to be like the class of 2018 or 2019, whatever it works out to be. So very, very happy with how that worked out. And we are now kind of playing a little tug of war mentally with some opportunity that we have that we're staring at right now, and how that might play with it a little bit further again. So I don't know if that's the segue you're looking for. If you
I mean, let's talk about. Are you looking at a Thanksgiving night World Food Championships final table, and how does that work logistically with the World Food Championships? Because that's got to take place first before you can have a final table.
Yeah, so we were, and this is the interesting thing about TV in Hollywood. And of course, I don't know if you recall, but we're now partnered up with Dick Hart Productions.
Yeah, right.
Who's leading our efforts in Hollywood and doing a phenomenal job with that. We, for about a hot minute, we were in this go strategy for a 2-hour special live on Thanksgiving night, and as we talk every single week, and because we're getting down to the nitty gritty of having to pull the trigger on a strategy and then being able to deliver and execute on that strategy. So it's moved a little bit. We are still looking at a holiday type show. We are trying to figure out, does it make sense to do that as a main event TV show, and then have a delayed final table again in the spring, so that we can build anticipation and have a second TV show. So the other cool thing that keeps making this tough is that we're dealing with networks. We're not dealing with cable TV. We're dealing with one of the major networks. So they have creatives, they have thoughts, they have a lot of moving parts on what is aired at certain times, especially during holiday season. And we're in that mix and trying to see where we land. I keep thinking every single day I'm gonna be able to say, okay, this is it. Let's box it in and let's deliver it, right? But we keep getting thrown these curveballs, and of course, as you know, Walmart's involved. So we got a lot of constituents that we gotta make sure that we do the right thing for. And I would say I probably should have told you earlier today, we could have postponed this a week or two. Maybe I'd have the answer. I'd be happy to come back and discuss it with you when we get it nailed down.
So let me ask you this, because it's my show and I always love speculatory or what would you want to have happen? I mean, all things being equal, if you could just go in and dictate this is what's going to happen, what would you like to see happen?
Oh, that's easy. There would be a TV show that covers the main event, and it wouldn't be a live situation, but it'd be a good TV show on a major network. And then we would have like Survivor. We switched from American Idol to a Survivor strategy, and we'd have Final Table New York, Final Table Seattle, Final Table Dallas, Final Table somewhere, maybe even a Thailand, a China, et cetera, in the future. So we would do that in the spring. And the thing that the World Series of Poker did for years has been one of those models that we emulated, and one of the reasons that we decided to switch to April this year in the final table. I always thought that was a great formula, and I don't even know why ESPN changed it back. But that's TV. I mean, there's always someone smarter in the room, and who knows what drives all these different decisions behind the curtains. But there's certainly a lot of factors. But I would have a 2-hour live final table somewhere in the world, and the 10 champions would have to cook a local dish. They'd have to maybe cook in a local restaurant, and then they'd have to face a local group of chefs in that market. And it would be portable, it would be episodic, and it would be epic, I think, from a strategic standpoint.
So
I keep trying to get that in everyone else's mind that's in the room, making this decision, and I haven't been successful yet, but we're gaining ground on a cool concept.
Do you think that the long-term success of World Food Championships has to be tied into television, or if it all went away in a year or two, it would still be as popular as ever? Or do you need the eyeballs on television to keep it in front of people's faces, say, hey, I could go do that. Now you have more participants. That's that's kind of the feeling I'm getting here is you want to make sure that it is on television going forward in some form or fashion to keep the eyeballs.
It's a great question. Personally, TV, I want it to always be on TV somewhere, somehow. TV drives a lot of different things, but an event doesn't have to have TV to be successful. I mean, look at the Jack, look at Memphis in May and the Royal. Those things are not really televised. They may have specials every now and then, but they're not based on television contracts.
Right.
The difference, Greg, is that you start dealing with different kinds of budgets. When you're at the event level and you're not televised, you're dealing with typically activation budgets at a company, which are a lot smaller than media budgets. And if you can ever straddle that situation and get the media dollars allocated. So let's say right now we got Lipton tea and the Pepsi House behind us. You know, their investment in the World Food Championship, which has been there for the last ever since it's been in Orange Beach, and will continue to be there, I think, as long as we continue doing the right things. Their investment becomes 10x or 100x if there's a TV show around it.
Sure.
So that's the killer aspect of TV. All the budgets get bigger, and notoriety becomes a bigger thing. You create more stars from the enterprise, and it does feed on itself. So it does. What I would say is it's a catalyst, right? It really moves the needle faster and strategically in different directions than an event that does not have TV. You know, we've proving that we've been on TV 4 out of 6 years, and I think that's one of the components to our success. It's all been on cable, and it's been different cable shows. But if we have a chance to be on a network show, would I move the final table back into the same calendar year? Hell yeah! I mean, that's you can't. I would be stupid to miss that, right? I mean, that it may still be separated, or it may be tacked on at the end of the tournament again, like it has been in the past. But we would do that for the network visibility we would get. It's even though Food Network is the thing, right? Everybody thinks once you hit Food Network, you've made it. It's not the thing. when you're dealing with NBC, CBS, ABC, or Fox, those numbers dwarf Food Network. So it'd be like the shot heard around the world for World Food Championships if we can get that nailed down.
Mike McCloud joining me here, creator of the World Food Championships, the website worldfoodchampionship.com. Mike, I will probably take you up here once you get everything nailed down here in a couple of weeks. We can come back on. We can also talk a little bit more about some ancillary categories and the big steak thing that was announced a week or so ago. And we can hook up back then and see what's happening.
Absolutely. Be happy to.
All right. Mike McCloud, the creator of the World Food Championships. Mike, always appreciate the time, man. Thanks for coming on.
Always fun. Thanks, Greg.
You got it. There he is. Mike McCloud. Right there. Yeah, baby.
All guests appear via the Traeger Grills hotline.
Working the phones myself. It's working itself. Doing it myself. So, potentially, as the embedded correspondent Steve Ray said last week after he had attended a World Food Championship event of some sort, that Mike got on Mike got on Mike and said, hey, we could be launching Final Table this year, network television. So he didn't back all the way off of it, just a little unsure exactly how that might look at this point, but could have him back in a couple weeks. We might redo the first hour with Nick Solaris and Mike McCloud again. Who knows? That was a very quick first hour in case you were keeping track of time. You know what's a great cooker to have in your backyard, especially if you're looking to get into the pellet cooker scene? Green Mountain Grills. I've had one for 6 years, 7 years, maybe a little bit longer than that. I have a Jim Bowie out back. That's the big boy. Can house many racks of ribs, especially if you're using the rib racks. Number of different pork butts. If you're going to pan them, a little less, but if you're just going to put them right there on the smoke, you can probably get 6, 7, 8 easy, depending on how big they are. Middle model, yeah, Daniel Boone, no problem there either. Great for the smaller family. Maybe you got 4 or 5 people in your family, or you're just not into cooking an incredible amount of smoked meat at any given time. Daniel Boone might be the one you want. Or if you're an outdoorsy person and you're always on the go, but you want to bring something along that can provide you with a nice barbecue flavor, smoked meat, even jack it up to do a little bit of grilling. The Davy Crockett, the most portable cooker out there right now when it comes to pellet cookers. All you have to do is keep it full of pellets. If you don't have access to a traditional electrical outlet, don't worry with the with the Davy Crockett. All you have to do is use the 12-volt outlet in your car or truck or van or SUV. Very simple. And you're not sacrificing a ton of capacity for the portability. Doesn't get any better than that. Head on over to greenmountaingrills.com. That's greenmountaingrills.com to purvey all of the models that they're currently selling. And as I say each and every week, if you're going to do Daniel Boone or you're going to do Jim Bowie, make sure that you go out of your way to spend the extra $125 or $30 or whatever it is to get that pizza oven insert. You're going to be extremely satisfied with it. The efficacy rate on that is got to be near 99.97%. I'm sure there's somebody out there that trashes it for no good reason other than they're just angry and bitter people. Everybody else is in love with a pizza oven insert for the Daniel Boone and the Jim Bowie. Works so well. Set your cooker at 350 degrees, double it. That's the temperature you have in your stone. So about 700 degrees on the stone. You can go all the way up to 1,000 degrees. Cooker's going to hit 500 degrees. That'll be 1,000 degrees in the oven. You want real traditional Neapolitan pie, thin crust, as high heat as you can go. Set it at 500. You got 1,000 on the stone. I'm not the guy that likes to live in that world. A lot of things can go wrong very quickly that you can't pull back. But hey, if that's your style, you go ahead and do it. greenmountaingrills.com. That's greenmountaingrills.com. We're back to wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
We are back after it. The segment brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring or connect via the Bluetooths. If you have Alexa or Google Assistant in your house, you're in luck because Fireboard fully integrated with both. Constantly learning new skills, so tell Alexa or the Google Assistant to do this or that with the Fireboard. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com. Or call 816-945-2232. That's 816-945-2232. Trying to lock down Ted Conrad here for a segment update coming up here just as soon as he is available. But I know this is one of their busiest times of the year anyway. Plus they're into some other technology. Thanks again to Mike McCloud from MMA Creative and World Food Championships talking about what might be a brand new final table look this year. It was new last year, could be new this year. John Dawson weighing in, Remps. I've heard rumors, no names please, rule number 1 of the show, that the 2019 World Food Championships final table will be held in 2021 at the International Space Station. Hey-o! Good job, John. John, this is only a reference that you and I will get. I was actually on a conference call with Joe Pags, and I told him all about how you had mentioned him to me. Remember years ago, you sent me a link, you're like, hey, check out Joe Pags. I told Joe Pags about John from Patio Daddy-O in Boise. Believe it or not, true story. I don't have it on tape, though, but why would I make that up? It's a little inside thing between me and you, John. All right, we are looking towards the second hour here. Embedded Correspondents segment coming up. If you missed the first hour, subscribe to the podcast, and then you'll get it tomorrow on Wednesday. You get the second hour on Thursday. Great stuff. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central show right here on the Barbecue Central Network. Stick around. We'll be right back.
This is Jennifer Palamas from Charlotte, North Carolina, and this is Barbecue Central.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude!
Succulent fish, what?
He ate 54 wieners. But listen, Libertius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour. Welcome aboard. It's the Barbecue Central show. We talk about really neat barbecue and grilling stuff right here on the show for 2 hours every Tuesday night. Is this thing on? Is this thing on? Remember, folks, this is not a podcast.
Andrew, you are not the father.
That's right. This is not a podcast. This is a live show. It's happening right now from Tuesday, every Tuesday, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you hit my website, if you go to Facebook, if you go to YouTube, if you go to TuneIn, you can get all the live feeds right here. The show is happening live. That's why we say we do it live.
We'll do it live.
That's right. We'll do it live.
Do it live.
I write it.
I'll write it and we'll do it
We
live.
do it live every Tuesday. If you listen to the show on Wednesday or Thursday, you're listening to a recording of the live show or what I would term technically a podcast. Although it's not pre-recorded stuff. It's not edited. It's none of that. It's a real live show that I'm recording. That seems to be the hot term now for a recorded show is podcasts because you can subscribe to it through a lot of the podcast feeds and all that crap. So, hey, subscribe to it if you miss it on the first hour. Go to iTunes, go to Google Play, go to whatever podcast catcher you like. And certainly you will be able to subscribe to the show so you'd never miss an interview like a great first-time guest, Nick Solaris, in the first hour. Can't believe you missed that. What was going on in your world that was better than listening to the first interview I've ever done with Nick Solaris? I can't think of one thing that any of you have going on right now that would be better than listening to that interview. Getting background on Nick, hearing about how he built up from living in England, moving to New York at 16? That's young. And then starting Beef Aficionado, the blog, as he said, the golden years of blogging. Going to Serious Eats. We love Kenji Lopez-Alt here on this show. He's been a guest before. Very fun. Then going to Eater, and now getting ready for another new YouTube show. So very much looking forward to that. So going to try and get Nick on the show much sooner than later so we can actually dive into some of the topics that I was looking to have him on. But thought it was at least somewhat important that if you don't know who he is, get a little background, build a little rapport with the Centralites. So when he comes back on, we have that well-rounded knowledge base on kind of where he started and where his point of view is coming from, how he was honed and refined from a culinary sense. So that was Nick. And then Mike McCloud talked about the potential new look of the World Food Championships final table that could be happening as early as the end of November or some holiday. So in a couple weeks, Mike will be back on the show once things are locked up, and we'll learn exactly what will happen. Maybe there won't be too much of a difference at the end. Maybe there'll be a whole big difference. But he said And as I said in the top of the show, 2018 rapidly coming to a close. We are right at the nail end of the month of July. August starts next week. Month 8. World Food Championships is 3 months after that. Less than that, I would imagine. So they got to have things locked down in order to get the World Food Championships to come off the way they have always hoped it would come off. We'll see what happens with that. All right, I had briefly mentioned that you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, and for the last number of weeks, you have heard the trials and tribulations of your show host saying, at the end of May, Apple sent me a email that said, hey, owner of the Barbecue Central show, guess what? We're ripping your show off the network. You're done.
Get that free stuff out of here.
Why? What did I do? Nothing has changed. I've done the same thing after every show, aside from cutting up hour 1 and hour 2 this year. I've done the same thing for 11 years. Same podcast feed, same repetition, all that crap. And at the end of May, they told me, your show isn't working. We're taking it off iTunes. You can't find it in the store anymore. Now, if you had already subscribed to the show as I was pushing updates with those podcasts from the live show on Tuesday, no big deal. You didn't really notice anything. But I want to continue to grow the show, and iTunes is a huge platform for podcasts, so that's typically where people want to go, and they go in to search BBQ. My show wasn't showing up as an option to subscribe to when barbecue podcasts were being searched. I can't have that. I didn't know it was going to take 2 months to fix. However, the iTunes issue firmly resolved. So once again, and I say this with peace and love, if you were already subbed to the show prior to the last 6 weeks, you haven't noticed any issues. The show updated as usual. However, the bigger issue was that iTunes yanked me off the menu for people to find and subscribe to, so we're finally able to get back approved last Wednesday. And now the show is findable when you search, so you can sub up again. Here's the downside. Here's the request from me to you. When we made the new listing, while we didn't lose any subscribers, we lost all reviews and ratings. Now, for like 6 or 7 of those, I'm not necessarily sad to see those get wiped out. And I had no idea. I didn't want any ratings or reviews to get wiped out. They were dating back to like 2009, for crying out loud. So if I may ask to inconvenience you, especially if you use iTunes. Now, if you use Google Play Music or Stitcher or TuneIn or iHeart or all the other podcast platforms that had no issue with me other than iTunes, you can still rate and review the show in those as well. I would like that. But if you use iTunes, and the majority of you do, please find the show in iTunes or go through iTunes on the computer and rate and review the show. I'm not asking for a 5-star rating. I'm not saying I'm going to offer free rub. If you give me a 5-star rating, screenshot it and send it to me. I'm not saying that. I am saying when I have reviews and ratings, it makes the show even more visible to everybody just searching around the general iTunes store in the podcast section. So please, oh please, do me a favor, and I don't ask for anything from you guys except support the show sponsors, but other than that, I'm not asking for anything. Please rate and review the show, however you see fit. Be honest. Don't be like Peanut in the basement and say, out of a 120-minute show, it's 118 minutes of commercials. You know it's not. You know it's not. Don't be like Sammy the DJ in Tennessee and say, he plays way too many sound effects. It's so Morning Zoo. F you. You don't like my sound effects? Beat it. Don't sub up. You're banned from subbing to my show. I have that network capability. I know if you don't like my sound effects, and I already have you banned from subscribing to the show. How about that? So don't even try it. Otherwise, rate and review me. I would love it. I would love to. Got an email from a listener. Dear Greg, I was just listening to the show where someone called you on the phone and said they were going to put you in the Barbecue Wizard Hall of Fame. I listened to that part 6 times, and I'm trying to figure out if that was a planned bit or if you were able to roll with that caller just to see where they would go during that call. My guess is that you were letting the caller work and you were feeding off of him, but I could be wrong. Can you shed some light on that? Also, when's the next time you're going to have Ted Reeder back on the show? I used to love his appearances, and I've noticed he's not been on recently. Anyway, enjoy the show. Rick in Denver. Rick, thanks for writing it. Rick, do you know Dennis Busso? He's in Denver. Dennis is a barbecue guy. Look each other up. Rick was almost getting into the Barbecue Hall of Fame, the Barbecue Wizard Hall of Fame, a bit or not? I don't know what you're asking me. Do you think that that was like a conceived thing that was written out? Why would you think that? If that's what you think, maybe that's what it was. If you're going with your gut, saying that you think I was rolling with somebody trying to mess with me, I would say, believe that. I can tell you this, that was a real call. I'll tell you that. Ted Reeder will be back on the show sooner than later, believe it or not. Love Teddy. Embedded Correspondents segment coming up out of the break. I want to talk to you quickly about Big Papa Smokers, the #1 online shop for all things barbecue. Their curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies will get you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything at Big Papa Smokers has been Pitmaster approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself. From the award-winning rubs and sauces to American-made grills and smokers, Big Papa Smokers has everything you need to be a better outdoor cook. They're known for the championship rubs and seasonings. I use them all the time. Popular flavors like Sweet Money, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, all proven winners on the competition circuit and in the backyard. Big Papa Smokers offers 13 perfectly balanced flavors that will transform ordinary meals into extraordinary. Whether you're cooking to impress the judges or grilling for your family, Big Papa Smokers' award-winning rubs and seasonings don't disappoint. Don't forget, they've combined forces with fellow rub company Simply Marvelous to form that West Coast offense that all the teams are using out there and doing very well with. They also own Granny's Barbecue Sauce. If you're looking for a new go-to barbecue sauce that will please everyone, Granny's traditional yet powerful flavors remind us why we fell in love with barbecue in the first place. Find Granny's Barbecue Sauce and other top-rated barbecue sauces at BigPapaSmokers.com. And aside from their premium selection of rubs and sauces, they offer a variety of the very best pellet, charcoal, and wood cookers available today. You're looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use? Check out the Mac 2-Star General Pellet Grill. Big Papa Smokers is the exclusive Mac dealer and even offers special packages. Not a fan of pellet smokers? Take a look at the Old Hickory Ace BP. It's the only charcoal smoker that Big Papa trusts on his competition trailer. And if you're a backyard grilling enthusiast like me, looking for a durable and versatile grill that will last forever, the M Grill is just what you need. Built like tanks, seen them in person at the NBBQA. Not sure what kind of grill you need? You really can't go wrong with any of the items featured at BigPapaSmokers.com. They have something for every kind of backyard cook and budget. Check out their website today and shop the full selection. It's clear that Big Papa's is the place to go for all things barbecue. Every product featured on their website has been hand-selected to help you barbecue better. Boost your barbecue skills with the help of Big Papa Smokers, the #1 online barbecue store. You can call them toll-free at 877-828-0727 or shop their website at BigPapaSmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA Smokers.com. The Embedded Correspondent segment. As we return, stick around. We'll be right back.
The only show giving you a monthly visit from a doctor of barbecue. A man actually named Meathead. The author of a barbecue Bible. Bloggers, reviewers, competitors, and manufacturers by the dozens. It's the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Hey, Smoking with Smithfield committed cooks. Make sure you head over to smokingwithsmithfield.com and report your first place wins to claim all your prizes. Have you registered to compete in the American Royal Pork Loin Ancillary? Smithfield just increased the prize purse to $6,000. Make sure you sign up at the American Royal website today. And don't forget to sign up for the Smithfield Classic, which will be in Richmond, Virginia on September 29th. To sign up, reach out to Jesse at Big Papa Smokers. That's Jesse, Jessie, at BigPapaSmokers.com. All right, it's that time of the month. Not that time of the month, you weirdos. It is that time of the month for the Embedded Correspondents segment. That's right. And joining me this evening is Embedded Correspondent Steve Ray from Tennessee. We also have David Huff from Oklahoma. And we may or may not have Doug Scheiding from Texas. Doug has dropped off the mark here. But, guys, I'm going to dump you off here real quick and try and reconnect with everybody. Because, you know, for the amount of issues that Steve Ray was having as we were sound checking yesterday, he looks loud and proud here now. So, like, turnabout is fair play. Everybody bagging on Steve yesterday, but look how good he looks. Jeez, it is so nice. Doug, are you there? At least by
everything but
voice.
the shirt, Steve. Come on.
Doug. Yeah, I got that. I got that for the big cook-off here last week in Chattanooga.
You won that?
No, I didn't win it. I emceed it.
Oh, okay. So that's your.
I never win, so I decided to start hosting.
That's your look, is what you're saying.
My look.
Yeah, it's your showpiece. All right. So we got the Embedded Correspondents here: Steve, Doug, and David. Doug, are you there or no? Well, I'm going to take that as a big fat no.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Oh, Steve, how we love to laugh to ourselves, don't we? Yeah, I love it. All right, guys, we're going to start. So if you're a fan of the show and you listen, of course, to the Embedded Correspondence segment, you know that we talked a lot about steak last week. We talked a lot about temperature. We talked a lot about what I am calling the purposeful the purposeful undercooking of steak across America. And I said, hey, not only did I task Daniel Vaughn with it the week before, but the following week you guys were on, and I said, go over the next month, go to some kind of steakhouse. It doesn't have to be Prime. If you want to do Prime, if you want to do a chain, whatever, without doing it at home, but go somewhere and bring a Thermapen, which we all know potentially very dangerous because people might look at you like you're weird and chefs might get offended. And as Steve pointed out, last month, they might think you're like a health inspector or something along these lines and chase you out the place. But you guys were up for the task and said, we will do this and we will report back. So we can see just from a very small swath of this great land of ours if we're having purposeful undercooking of meat. So let's go right to Oklahoma Embedded Correspondent, David Huff. I have your pictures. If you want to give us a little talk up on what your experience was, where you went, what you ordered, I'll go ahead and make sure that I'm flashing pictures as you call them out.
Okay, so bear with me, Greg. I'm only seeing the video over on my PC. On the screen, I only see your picture, so I can't quite see what pictures you're showing. But so I went to Ruth's Chris last weekend in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
All right.
I figured that steakhouse should know what they're doing for the money that they are charging you for a piece of meat on a white platter. And just happened to be celebrating my birthday, 42 years old at the casino. So it was a good time.
Happy birthday. How about that?
Thank
Everybody,
you
1 and 2. Happy birthday to you.
To you.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
Move on.
So I had 4 people at the table. We all ordered steaks. We tested 3 of the 4 steaks because one of them cooked theirs too. Well done.
What?
And I wasn't going to test theirs because that just is not right. That's just as bad as boiled hot dogs, right?
David, Steve and Doug are way too nice. I'm saying time for new friends. You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, right.
Test it. I want to know what it was cooked to.
Wow.
Well, we'll have to go back maybe, but so what you're seeing there is actually 120 point. Well, first off, let me start over, or let me jump back. I did ask the waiter, do your chefs use thermometers?
Yes.
Or do they just go by, feel, or they know how long it should take? And he said, absolutely, they use thermometers. Now, he didn't sound very convinced when he said it, but his answer was they absolutely do. So as soon as the steaks come out, now they did say they serve their steaks as kind of a pride for them. They serve them on 500-degree plates.
Yeah, Ruth
and he's
Chris
not lying.
calling
The
card.
plates hit my forearm. They are scorching.
Oh, wow.
So the steak came out. I ordered mine to medium rare, and I actually asked him to cook it to about 125. And the first picture that you were showing there, Greg, was 120.4. So a little under on the delivery, especially since that plate probably helped with the carryover. I'm sure it kept cooking from the time they put it in the window to the time it got to me. And that was a ribeye, probably about an inch thick or so. I think there's a picture of the ribeye a little bit later on.
Is this it?
There's a little bit of a lag here.
Is that the one that's got the shrimp on it?
Nope, that's the filet.
All right, this is probably the one here. So you got it turned up with a fork?
Yeah, probably so.
Okay.
So, and then the fillets were both ordered specifically to 135. And they came out
129.8.
You got it.
Wow.
Yep, undercooked. And again, if they would have accounted for the carryover in those scorching hot plates, I'm sure it would have been much closer to 135. But at 129, with the carryover and the hot plates, I would say they grossly undershot it, trying to hit 135.
David, I don't want to point out very simple task commands, but you ordered your steak to medium rare, but I said do medium. What are you doing? Come on.
So
we can't get an accurate reading for test controls if you're just going to throw away my commands. I mean, what are we doing here? We might as well pound our head against the wall.
There was science behind it, Greg. Listen, I had two girls that wanted to cook their steaks to medium. I wasn't going to pay $70 for a steak cooked to medium when I wanted it medium rare. So they were the guinea pigs, and I was the anomaly at medium rare.
We're just throwing all caution. F the show, whatever. Okay, I see how it is. That's fine. So, I mean, in your estimation, you think that at least the fillets were grossly undercooked. And I would hazard to say, because I don't know if Steve and Doug are overly familiar with Ruth's Chris, but like their calling card, like I remember when I was hearing their commercials 10 and 15 years ago, that what the hell is that lady's name? Evelyn Chris, or whoever the founder lady is. That was like the things she talked about in all the radio commercials was, our steaks are served on 500-degree plates, so your steak is hot from the first bite to the last bite. Now, back then I had no idea that was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard, is you're basically putting a little plate grill in front of you. So I would imagine they're probably cooking their steaks well under, because they are accounting for quite a while of carryover cooking. I mean, a 500-degree plate that stays hot for that long, it's almost like you go to steak on a stone and they put that rare piece of beef on that volcano stone and you just cook it by cutting it up and flipping it a little bit. So I don't like the volcano plate. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, I agree. Not to mention, I mean, when you have a fairly small table with wine glasses and side dishes and, the candles in the middle, there's not a lot of room. And you go touching that plate and it's hot enough to put a burn on you. That's no joke. I will say, and this makes sense, the fillets were affected less by the carryover than the ribeye. And I'm guessing that's just because of the width of the meat. I mean, those fillets were a good 2 inches thick, where the ribeye was much closer to an inch. So the fillets definitely did not get much carryover at all, and that ribeye got a little bit, I think.
All right, so overall thought, are you a believer in purposeful undercooking of beef?
Based on those results, you would think that restaurant should exactly know what they're doing, account for everything that carry over. I mean, they're supposed to be professionals. They're getting a lot of money to put a piece of meat on a plate. So I think it might have some truth to it.
All right, let's go to the guy that first filed his report. Of course, the longest-running embedded correspondent in the Barbecue Central show's history, Doug Scheiding, pitmaster of Rogue Cookers. You'll find him out on the barbecue trail with Traeger, also giving shop classes. So, Doug, I have your pictures ready to go here, and tell us about your experience.
Perfect. I would like to say one thing is when they tell you not to touch the platter because it's too hot, what do you normally do? I always touch it just to see how hot it is. I don't know. So I'm not a fan of the volcano plate either. But okay, so I was in New York. I was really excited after our talk last month, and so about a week or so later, I was in New York, and we went to the Quality Italian Steakhouse. Now it's just south of Central Park on 57th Street in New York. And we went there, and I just happened to have my thermometer with me because I was doing a barbecue assignment. And so I ordered a tomahawk ribeye, and it was only $58, which in the end is really not bad.
Was it dry aged?
And you can see that. Yeah, it was
30
yes,
days.
It was dry aged. Yes, it was dry aged for like 30 days allegedly. So, but so I ordered it and I told the waiter I wanted to cook to exactly. Now I went to 140 because I thought that was the original assignment.
You're
so
correct.
I did go to 140, and he just looked at me and he said, "Yes, sir." And he wrote down 140, and he went off and came back 30 minutes later. And lo and behold, with the carryover, it was 142. I waited about another 30 seconds.
Wow.
And it went to 144. So they did cook it to exactly 140, I'd say. And you can see it's still moderately pink on the inside. And it was probably an inch and a half thick. So, given it was a tomahawk and stuff. So it was actually one of the best steaks I've had in a long while because truthfully, I don't order steaks out much because I'm usually disappointed in the quality of the steak or how they've cooked it, etc. So I would say it was a resounding success. Now, last night, it's not exactly a steak, but I did order center cut filet sliders, and it came out, and I asked for 140 again. And it came out at 145 and then 147 after another 30 seconds. So it was just a tad overcooked. And again, that was much thinner. That was a much thinner piece of meat because it was on a slider. But so my experience was, no, I didn't have the undercooking issue that you said. So
when you asked to have the steak go to a specific temperature, was there any trepidation from your server or like, who are you? Our guys know the way, or were they just like, hey, we're super accommodating. We get it. This is a whole experience thing, and whatever you want, we're going to do.
The guy in New York was just looked at me and saw that that's exactly what I meant. He wrote it down. I didn't say medium rare, medium. I just didn't say anything. Now, last night when I ordered, the lady said, because she asked me what temperature that I wanted the steak to. And I said 140. And she looked at me and she goes, no. Do you want it medium rare, medium? And I said, no, you asked me what temperature, and I want it specifically at 140. And she goes, are you sure? Are you serious about that? And I said, yes, 140. So, yeah, that threw her in for a loop when I asked for that.
Did she say that they cook with thermometers at that place you were at yesterday?
No, she acted like that she had already stepped in the pile of dung once. And so she acted like that was a totally new concept. And then we also ordered lamb lollipops, and she asked what we wanted that cooked to. And I said, just have that cooked to the chef's choice. And those came out at 134.
Oh, so they were more...
They were a little more rare.
On the medium rare side of medium, I guess. Wow. From I don't want to diverge here, but which one did you prefer, the slider or the lamb lollipop?
Actually, I preferred the lamb lollipops because it was a thicker piece of meat, and I just you get to gnaw on the bone a little bit. Who doesn't like to gnaw on the bone a little bit? So
the people that you were at the New York Steakhouse with, did they also order a temperature, or were they just the normal medium rare or whatever? Or what was the temperature that won the day? I guess what was mostly ordered.
Oh, they actually ordered one ordered fish and the other one ordered pasta.
Go to a steakhouse and get fish?
It was an Italian steakhouse. What can I say?
I'll take the flounder.
It was pretty swank. It was pretty swank. It was a nice place.
One of the nicest places you've been?
Not nicest places I've been, but the bottle of wine that we ordered was, the third cheapest one that I ordered was $98.
You know what? I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but before I understood how restaurants worked, I thought that bottle cost was the same as if I went to my local wine merchant. That was a $30 bottle of wine you were drinking that was $90. I mean, they add triple the cost. So.
Oh, yeah. It was probably a $35, $38 bottle of wine because, yeah.
But you order it, and in your mind, you're like, oh, it's a $100 bottle of wine. Meanwhile, you're telling the server, like, go decant this for 45 minutes. Make sure it does not under direct sunlight. Meanwhile, it's a $30 bottle of wine, and you're like, look at this guy's decanting a $30 bottle. Yeah.
It was Whitehall Lane. Whitehall Lane is a good proprietor in California.
Yeah. All right. So that is Doug Scheiding, the Texas embedded correspondent. Once again, just for review, because we got off on a couple of different rabbit holes. Yep. You found your request to be accurate, had no issues, no purposeful undercooking that you experienced.
No, and in fact, last night it was overcooked.
Right. Okay. Steve Ray is the Tennessee embedded correspondent. Steve, go ahead and tell us where you went, and then when you're ready, just tell me to roll the videos.
Well, my esteemed colleagues, one going to Ruth Chris, the other going to the Italian Steakhouse. I wanted to up the game. So I went to the 5-star restaurant here in Ooltewah, Beef O'Brady Sports Bar.
Wow, nice.
And
soon to be overtaken by the Ooltewah Chick-fil-A, from what I understand.
Exactly right. And Tawny, our waitress.
Katane?
Katane?
I hear you, Doug.
She came out to the table and took the order, and I ordered a steak, and the panic looked on her face right away, like, oh my God, this guy's actually ordering a steak. I didn't know we had those things. I thought it was all chicken wings. And I ordered mine at 140 degrees or medium. And go ahead and roll the tape.
All right.
All right, welcome back to Beef O'Brady's, the 5-star sports bar here in Ooltewah. Our waitress, Brittany, has arrived with the sirloin. Brittany, sit down. And I'm going to want you to get real close on this. We're going to pin the sirloin. I can't see it. What's it say?
142.
142.
Wow.
142. That is the perfect medium, Brittany. 142 degrees. So, folks, there you have it. I hope that dispels the myth that Greg Rempe and some of his followers have said that. Thank you, Brittany, very much.
Thought it was Tawny.
I thought it was Tawny too.
Tawny took the order to a certain temperature and to a certain degree of doneness.
All right, you get a little long in the tooth there, if I'm being honest, Steve. So,
no, not Steve.
Yeah, but
I can't wait to hear yours, Greg.
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be really short. So, Steve, I mean,
when I go first, I never take a lot of time.
That's right. So, in the end, like. I mean, what was your anticipation? I'm anxious to hear like what your expectation was if you go to. We have a couple Beef O'Brady's around here. I've actually never been to one, but I haven't heard anything terribly great. I haven't heard anything terribly bad. So, as somebody who is a competitive barbecue cook, I mean, you're very handy with the grill when you're talking about high heat. Anyway, what is your expectation going into a facility like that to prepare something for you to a temperature?
Well, they steak over there is a new thing. They've just introduced it within the last 6 months. That's the first one I've had. And fellas, I'm going to tell you, it was good. there was nothing wrong with it. It wasn't very big. That was like a sample of what I would order outside. But it was good. But what I did this week, I put out a little poll on my Facebook page, and I posted it to the American Culinary Federation page here, the local chapter, and I was soliciting opinions about, do restaurants serve steaks undercooked for a reason?
Steve, let me interrupt just for 1 second. Can we tease with that? Let me do a read, and then we'll come back and get your feedback from the question that you solicited to your local chapter.
Absolutely.
Do that? All right. Hold on 1 second. We'll get right back with Steve results. We also have Doug and David aboard here talking about their steak field assignments. Let's say it that way. I'll talk to you quickly about Cook Shack. They manufacture smoker ovens for barbecue lovers with any amount of experience, whether you barbecue in the backyard on the competition circuit or in a 5-star dining facility. Cook Shack has a unit that will do the job, and with a full line of barbecue sauces, spices, pellets, wood chunks, it's the perfect one-stop shop. Cook Shack strives to be your barbecue resource center by offering cooking classes, online recipes, how-to videos, 2 blogs, Smoke and Grilling 101s, a video cooking classroom. Check out their website at cookshack.com or follow them on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Pinterest, or Google+. Get advice and share your passion for barbecue on their world-class barbecue forum. They still have one of those. Cook Shack pellet-fired smokers are the choice of champions because they were designed by a champion, Ed Fast Eddie Morin. The FEC 100, PG 1000, always customer favorites. The PG 1000 can actually double as a smoker and a grill. Low and slow, hot and fast. The pellet grill line gives you the most for your money. Cook Shack residential electric smokers, the #1 smoker in the industry. High quality means high durability and versatility. Anything you can cook in your oven, you can make in a Cook Shack. Passion and dedication drives Cook Shack's manufacturing, with quality always being the top priority. Get the best in barbecue since 1962. Call 800-423-0698. That's 800-423-0698. Or visit cookshack.com. Wow. Can't even tell you what's going on my other screen. We'll be back with more Embedded Correspondence segment right here on the Barbecue Central Show. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rampey.
The National Barbecue News is dedicated to all things barbecue. Their goal to introduce new people to the barbecue world while keeping the barbecue enthusiasts and professionals like my embedded correspondents informed on all current happenings in and around Barbecue Nation, whatever that is. They obtain this goal by offering timely news stories, new product reviews, barbecue event calendar, and unique recipes inside their printed products, website, social media pages, and email newsletter. Subscribe now by visiting barbecuenews.com. That's BARBECUE news.com. All right, guys, we're back at it. Steve was just teasing how he had submitted a question on his local, what was it, the local chef's chapter in
ACF, American Culinary Federation.
All right, so what was the question that you posted, and what were some of your interesting responses back?
Do the restaurants or the staff where you work, are they directed to undercook steaks on purpose in case they're sent back? Mm-hmm. They can be warmed up and not thrown away.
Is this an edict, is what you're saying, in other words?
What now?
I said, in other words, is this an edict that is being passed down from your bosses?
Yes, exactly right. Okay. Exactly right. And the first response I got was from a female server, and I thought that was really a unique. I never thought that we'd get a server to.
You didn't know females were servers at this point? Is that what you're saying?
I knew that.
Okay,
I knew that. We'll get to yours in a minute. Okay.
Yeah. Tony and Brittany.
Take your time.
Yeah. And she said that when she would turn in the order, depending on who was doing the cooking in the kitchen, she would, most of the time, if somebody ordered it medium, she would say medium rare. If somebody ordered it well done, she would say medium well. It's because she took the position that the steak is going to sit on the counter for a little bit. It's going to rise in temperature, and by the time she gets it to the customer, it will be at the perfect temperature. And I thought that, the server dictating to the cook, how to cook it other than the customer. I thought that was just interesting. But another fellow who was a chef a long time at Logan's, and he's a listener and a watcher of your show, Greg.
Oh, great.
He answered a very interesting thing. He said one time he sent out 6 steaks to a patron, and they were all sent back. And he said the complaint was they were ordered at medium, and the complaint from the gentleman was these are still too rare to eat. He was cutting them and looking at them. And guess what it was? And we just heard it last week from Meathead. It was the fluorescent lights.
Wow.
He went out and turned up the lights in the dining room on the 6th steak to tell the customer the steak is perfect. It's the lights that make it look red. And he's right. When I was at Beef O'Brady's, when I cut into it, the steak looked really, really red, but it was cooked to 140 degrees. So I knew it wasn't, it looked like it was like 120 degree steak, David. But man, it tasted good. And I just thought that was interesting that the light was tricking his patrons as well. And I had never heard that until I heard from Meathead. And then this fellow said the same thing. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Doug, maybe that's why some people carry the flashlights then, right?
Well, Doug, I believe you might have offered up the next field task, which is everybody hits another restaurant, bring Thermapen and a flashlight.
Flashlight to get the picture.
Yeah, because the other thing that Meathead said last week that I didn't really, I knew about it, but I wasn't really thinking about it, is that people don't know temperatures and how they correspond with what a rare steak temperature is, what a medium rare steak temperature is. And the struggles that I had been having over the last couple times of grilling, where I took it too far, so I didn't know where that's why after that 1 week I backed off and said, hey, let's order at 130 and a lot for some carryover cooking. So if it's within that 135 to 140 instead of doing 140, I had to reteach myself that the temperature is really more of the main component here than how it looks. And people don't know what that is supposed to look like. So you have to go with temperature at that point. So I just thought I'd throw that in there and give Meathead's accolades as well, since Steve was doing it. But that was very important because I know I'm going to be pulling my steaks off probably another 5 or 6 degrees cooler than I did the last time. It's probably going to be at 126 or 127.
So are we good to order at 135 then? Or you want us 130?
No, I think we should order at 130.
Okay.
Yeah. Order at 130, see if it comes out at 135. Between 135 and 137, I think is probably going to be optimal. Well, let's go around the room. David, do you think that's fair?
Yeah, that's fair. I'm still frustrated that, outside of maybe Doug, I probably spent the most money or close to the same amount of money on my meal, and my steaks were the ones that were worst off. I should have gone to Sizzlers. God.
Steve,
and got the grill marks on it like Bonanza. Yes.
Right. Steve, is that a fair temperature to go to, 130 degrees?
Yeah. I'm a 130 degree guy. I can live with that.
Well, how do you? How would you do your steaks at home?
What kind of flashlight? What kind of flashlight do we take, Doug?
Yeah, Doug.
A flashlight.
Oh, I've got a one that goes 50 yards. That's what I'm taking.
You got a 4D cell mag light that doubles as a pistol whip.
Well,
it's for hunting. It's for hunting.
Do we have to take it?
I got a flashlight you can see from space, but you know what? What are we going to do?
We have to take into consideration that's going to continue to cook the meat when we put that type of flashlight.
It could have some
whatever.
So what kind?
They'll be talking at Beef O'Brady's.
It can't be fluorescent light. Is that what it was, Steve?
Yeah, right. No, it can't be a fluorescent.
All right. So we don't want to take a fluorescent flashlight. So LED is probably going to be all right. And
yeah, mine's LED.
Yeah. So pocket flashlight, Thermapen pocket. Maybe get some exterior holsters mean, Doug, you'll fit right in down with the other Texans down there, except you're packing a
Put
Thermapen.
your pocket protector in too, Doug.
Hey, yeah,
right.
I have one. Yeah, it's a concealed handgun carry down here.
Hey,
So
I got
we're
one
good.
of those too. We got those in Ohio. Hey, so let me come clean. I do not have a review. Shame on me. I know, totally. My edict, and I did not follow my own orders. However, I do have big plans to head to one of the most consistently top-rated, independently owned steakhouses across the country. And believe it or not, we have 2 of them right here in Cleveland. That's Red the Steakhouse. And I will be getting whatever I'm not going to get that tomahawk one that they have because it's just too much money. But I believe they have like a 55-day age, dry-aged ribeye. So I will get that, and we'll see how well I do next month. So if everybody wants to go with flashlight and Thermapen, we can do it one more time, and we can probably dispel the myth. I think aside from David, everybody else was kind of right on point.
I mean, if we absolutely have to go eat another steak next month, I'll see what I can do, Greg.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the concerted effort.
Yes.
Hey, real quick, David. My contact at our local Ruth Chris Steakhouse. He's one of the people that I use for judges in our competitions down here, and he said that they do not cook with a thermometer here in Chattanooga. They cook solely on feel. And he said the reason they also undercook their steaks on purpose here, because the steak is supposed to continually cook on the plate as you eat it. So
Instant
at 500
feedback.
degrees, you could throw on some asparagus, a baked potato,
Right.
sear an egg, and have a big wok look.
Yeah, I guess that would be a good point if I would have taken. Well, I wasn't thinking that much in advance. I should have taken a temperature of that steak, halfway done with it, and seen if it did continue to carry over.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'd hit the plate too. I'd be curious to see how close to 500 degrees a plate was.
Well, it burned David's arm, so it had to be pretty hot.
It was pretty hot.
Guys, let's go ahead and toss around one more topic here while we have about 5 minutes, so that should get us to the end of the segment. I was talking with Nick Solaris in the top of the first hour in the first interview segment, and towards the top of that interview, we briefly hit on a topic that I thought would not be a topic ever on the show, which is hot dogs. And last week I had Stephen Reichlin on. We were talking about hot dogs because he had some delicious-looking hot dogs over at barbecuebible.com, and we talked a little bit about recipe and how he likes to do them. And after he got done giving me the, not lecture, but the really insightful way to do it properly, I made a mistake and said, hey, I like a well-placed boiled hot dog every once in a while. Maybe it's because I grew up on it. Maybe I don't even know why. I mean, to me, it tastes good. So, a nice soft bun, a nice boiled hot dog, whether it's Hebrew National, a ballpark. I'm not necessarily a hot dog snob. I do like the natural casing hot dogs, like 5-Star makes. I mean, those are pretty good, but I'm not a discerning hot dog eater by any stretch. And for whatever reason, and a lot of ketchup, which evidently isn't good according to Nick. So I've been making enemies left and right here. So let's quickly go around the panel first and say boiled hot dogs, yes or no, and why, Steve?
Okay, real quick. I've got the thing that you need, fellas. This little thing right here, this tool. I'm all about presentation. You take that hot dog off of that, and can you see the diamond cuts right there?
Yep.
Now I put this one in the microwave, Greg, Doug, and David, just to see what it would look like. Show you.
Wow.
Now what division of hell will I be in for putting a hot dog in the microwave with Stephen Wright?
That's the 12th circle of hell.
Yeah, that's right. That's below the bull people.
Jeez.
That looks like it goes on my BMX bike on the tread tire.
Well, I think it's all about presentation. I want to hear 9s all across the board on this one. And then of course you put your coleslaw, your relish, and your mustard on it, and it's the most delicious food that there is in the world. Period.
So you will choose to microwave a hot dog, or you were just showing it for show purpose?
If I don't have time to boil it. Now, I've got a job. I'm, Stephen Reichlin is home.
Whoa.
Not doing anything.
You said you will boil a hot dog?
he can sous vide his hot dogs if he wants to. That's fine. But I'll take a boiled hot dog anytime in a microwave. I think they're great in a microwave.
All right. Do you prefer a grilled hot dog or no?
No.
Oh,
boiled
you don't? Okay. Boiled or microwave?
microwave.
Wow. Okay, that might be the 15th circle of hell. I got to be honest. Boiled or microwave. David Huff, hot dogs?
Yeah, so they're delicious. Any way you want to serve them. I do prefer mine grilled. More specifically, I prefer mine over a campfire while I'm sitting outside my RV, and I just put a stick in it and roast it over the old campfire the old-fashioned way. I microwave my hot dog, to be honest. Actually, my absolute favorite guilty pleasure to eat as far as a hot dog, I will take a slice of American cheese. I will put it on a flour tortilla. I will put the hot dog on and roll it up like a burrito, and I will microwave it, and that is one of my favorite snacks or lunches to eat.
Really?
Yep, it's delicious. And I will, Doug, if I can plug myself for just a second here, I am going to be doing a video. I'm trying to get into this YouTube thing. Hashtag HuffDaddyBBQ. I'm on Instagram, Facebook.com, the same thing. I am going to be trying to make, I had this idea, everybody I see on YouTube or that has all these followers, they're doing something that's just out of the ordinary. I'm going to be taking a hot dog and chopping it up, almost like Steve's little grill thing that did there in little chunks, and mixing it with a hamburger patty and trying to make, if you can't decide if you want a hamburger or a hot dog, I'm going to be trying to make one in the same. I don't know what I'm calling it yet, but it will be a hamburger and a hot dog combined.
I think it's going to be called a ham dog.
Ham dog, exactly.
Come on,
Dog burger.
what are you talking about?
So I will post the video of that here probably after this weekend. I'm going to try and grill it out this weekend and see how it goes.
Steve, was that contraption you had called the slot dog?
It is called the slot dog.
All
yes,
right,
it is.
very good.
Slot dog.
Doug, we'll end with you. Hot dogs.
I didn't realize that I am a hot dog. Well, I'm a barbecue snob, but I'm also a hot dog snob.
Big surprise.
I have not allowed a hot dog on any of my Traeger grills, and no, certainly if I won't grill them, I definitely won't eat a boiled hot dog. It tastes like nothing. So you need all the contents to have it. The only time to have a hot dog is maybe if you're at a baseball game, you can have a hot dog, and that would be the only reason or situation I could picture having a hot dog.
Wait,
Here.
Let's recap very quickly. I just want to make sure I'm understanding this. You are saying you don't like hot dogs, period.
Period.
Whoa!
20th
Revelation upon revelations going on here.
They have no taste. They have no taste.
You have to be kidding me, Doug.
Hot dogs?
Traeger, remove this man from power immediately.
Now, sausage is a different deal. Sausage is king down here. So, I mean, we have what's called kolaches, or actually, it's, the real name is klobasanek, which means pig in the blanket. It's Czechoslovakian for pig in the blanket. So that's like a jalapeno sausage with cheese in a yeast kind of a dough bun, and you have to bite into it to really kind of see what it is. Kolache has jam or cheese or something like that. So we have that. Jam. I will eat that. So the pig in the blanket, I'm in, because it has jalapeno sausage, not a hot dog.
So no Hebrew National, no Nathan's Famous, no Ballpark. Nothing like that from a hot dog standpoint. Like, did you have a bad experience as a Ute or something like that?
They don't taste like anything. It's mystery meat. It doesn't taste like anything.
I mean, you can't sit here, Doug, and tell me honestly that the hot dog doesn't taste like anything. It has a taste to it. It's meat, for crying out loud. It has to have a taste.
No. Well, that's why you have to put onions, ketchup, brown mustard.
Did you hear Nick Solaris go on and on about how the Sabrett hot dog is full of garlic?
Okay, well, it's a garlic hot dog. It's not a regular hot dog.
The only person allowed to say a hot dog doesn't taste like anything is Joey Chestnut.
Right. Correct. All right, great transition here. David Huff, inside of 10 minutes, how many hot dogs and buns can you cram down your mouth?
Oh my goodness! Am I allowed to throw up afterwards or not?
You can't throw up during time, but you can do whatever you want after the fact.
Big dude, love hot dogs. I'm gonna go high and say 9.
9. Wow. Look at you. Like that. All right, Steve. How many hot dogs
3.
inside of 10 minutes? 3?
3.
Come on. You can do better than that.
I could do 23 filet sliders.
All right, Doug. Wait, Doug does 0. All right, look.
Thank you.
Let me ask you, because it is pointed out by John Dawson in Boise, Idaho, that a hot dog by definition is indeed a sausage. Nevertheless, if you had to cram down hot dogs in 10 minutes, how many do you think you could do?
I don't think I could do 9. I could probably do 5, 6, 7, maybe.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm in the 6 category. I think the first 3 could be done inside of a minute, and then it would be rough to get the other 3 down. As I was telling Steven last week, the first one tastes the best. Like, it's magical. And then the second one is not as magical. And then you eat that third one to try and recapture the first, and then you hate yourself after that. It is the law of diminishing return.
No hot dog magic.
No hot dog. Luckily, my friend this weekend did not ask me to cook his kids hot dogs on my Traeger grill.
Would you have told him no?
Yes, I would have told him no.
Are you kidding me?
He hates kids. He hates kids.
Oh my God. Doug, what are we talking about? You wouldn't put a hot dog on your grill?
It's a principle thing. No.
This is the best embedded correspondence segment I've ever. Doug hates kids and hot dogs. That's like hand in hand, I think. Wow.
Well,
What a meat snob. Holy
wow.
cow.
I love it. This is great. All right. So anyway, next month, I will hit Red the Steakhouse. Maybe I'll even go twice to make up for the fact that I didn't go last month. Or maybe I'll try one of those Morton places and then do Red. Everybody else will hit one more steakhouse. We'll bring non-fluorescent lights. We'll bring thermometers, and we'll do it one more time, and then maybe we can go ahead and dispel the purposeful undercooking meat myth that I floated out there a couple weeks ago. In any event, in Tennessee, you have Steve Ray. In Texas, you have Doug Scheiding. And on the road in Oklahoma, you have David Huff. They are the embedded correspondents. Thank you, guys. As always, there they are. Absolutely spectacular. I am completely
all guests appear via the Traeger Grills hotline.
That Doug Scheiding is
yummy.
100% anti. Won't even put a hot dog. If his friends' kids asked for hot dogs, he would have told them to go pound soap. Unbelievable. Well, now hold on a second. I've gotten way ahead of myself. Let's go ahead here. There we go. Very interesting to end the embedded correspondence, no doubt. Jason King is the same. No hot dogs. Oh, wait. He was being the hot dog Nazi, I think. Folks, let me talk to you quickly about the Barbecue Guru before we have to get out of here. We always believe outdoor cooking should be easy and fun because it can be, especially with the Monolith Barbecue Guru Edition grill. The Monolith, the first world's temperature-controlled smoker with built-in power draft fan. This means smarter control and greater freedom with automatic temperature control. Easily choose your cooking time and temperature and let the Monolith do the work of a sous chef or a barbecue pitmaster. With minimal effort, you now have oven-like precision at the grill, and you can serve the tastiest, juiciest meals each and every time. Call them 800-288-GURU or visit the website bbqguru.com. We're back to wrap the show right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Craig Rimpey.
All right, welcome back. Let's go ahead and make tracks out of here all the way back in the first hour. We had first-timer to the show, Nick Solaris, and you can find him at nicksolaris.com. You can also find him on Instagram under the same handle. Tweeter _ between first and last name. Looking forward to having him on again sooner than later. Also, Mike McCloud in the second interview portion of the first hour, talking about the World Food Championships' potential new final table face. We'll see how that shapes out here in the next couple weeks and have him back on to finalize it and announce. And then the Embedded Correspondents segment took place in the second hour. Big show planned for you next week, as always. September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until then, this is your program host and proud U.S. American Greg Rempe first saying,
Start the game! Let's go!
and also saying good night now.